What's happening, guys and gals? I hope you are well and enjoying your holiday breaks. Steve here with your film review of the week. This week I went to go see a much anticipated sequel featuring a cute blue hedgehog who just loves to go fast. That's right, Sonic 3 is in theaters. I checked out the film and I'm here, as always, to give my honest thoughts on the movie. The good, the bad, and my overall score. Be mindful that I will be delving into spoilers about the final act and the post-credit scenes later in this video, so if you don't want those to be spoiled for you, I suggest that you go to the timestamps that I've listed down below to skip the spoiler section of my review. Sonic the Hedgehog 3 is once again directed by Jeff Fowler. It is rated PG with a runtime of 1 hour and 49 minutes. Sonic, Knuckles, and Tails reunite to battle Shadow, a mysterious new enemy with powers unlike anything they've faced before. With their abilities outmatched in every way, they seek out an unlikely alliance to stop Shadow and protect the planet. First, we're gonna start with the good. It's no surprise that Shadow just absolutely steals the show here. Voiced by none other than Keanu Reeves, Shadow is a complex character with layers to him. I think his backstory and his motives, while a bit clunky in its execution, I think delivered on that. He's very angry and just looking to get revenge on the people that took away something that he deeply cared about and had a genuine connection with. And he doesn't waver in his convictions for a second, easily just demolishing Sonic and the gang early on. The way his power set is kind of shown off was just so cool to see on screen. This is easily going to bring a whole new generation of Shadow fans, no question. Also, the action on display here was just bananas and easily just brought a huge smile to my face. I may be more of a casual Sonic fan compared to most people, but I played Sonic Adventure 1 and 2 and they were my jam back in the day, and these scenes alone brought those memories just flooding back, and it provided such a good feeling of those very missed and fondly looked back days in my childhood. The final act of the film is also a major positive, but we'll talk about that when we get to the spoiler section. Another positive is, of course, Jim Carrey, who is just crazy as ever as Robotnik, and doubly so as he's essentially playing two characters in this. He's playing his grandfather, Gerald Robotnik, and I feel most of the laughs for me came from his performance, surprise, surprise. Now we're gonna talk about the bad. Due to Shadow being the one who steals the movie for me, it definitely feels like we get a little less time with Sonic and the gang as opposed to Shadow. I think Paramount just went all in on trying to make Shadow be as cool as possible, that Sonic and the rest kind of, fell by the wayside a little bit. I just felt like while their scenes were fun, it just seemed like the focus was mostly on Shadow, as they clearly wanted to do him right by the fans. The humor is definitely not the greatest. The jokes seem to be a little bit more targeted to a younger audience, and I didn't really laugh all that much. Like I said, most of the laughs that came out of me were from Jim Carrey's performance. And it seems like just that type of humor was targeted toward a much younger generation, which isn't too surprising, as these films have definitely brought in a new and younger generation of Sonic fans, which is great to see. But I was just kind of left wanting more in terms of the humor. Shadow's backstory is also kind of thrown into the dreaded exposition dump early on by Commander Walters, who was in the previous two films. Shadow is a mystery at this point in the film, and Sonic asks Walters, like, who is he? Where did he come from? And then Walters basically says, well, Sonic, about 50 years ago. I hate when movies do this, as it just makes more sense to kind of show this type of thing like organically throughout the runtime. It's the show don't tell approach, and we revisit this flashback again later on, so it just didn't really seem all that necessary to include Shadow's backstory in full like this early on to establish the character. Also, the human characters outside of Carrey, of course, are the weakest aspect of the movie. Kristen Ritter plays Director Rockwell, whose character is just easily forgettable. Marsden and Sumter as Tom, and Maddie Wachowski, who, despite giving fine performances, it was great to see them again. They don't really have much to do with the story overall until closer towards like the middle portion of the film, where they have to essentially assist in pulling off a heist with Sonic and everyone else. They just felt shoehorned into the rest of the movie to give them something to do, as they are Sonic's family, and it would be kind of weird to just not have them in for the majority of the film. So Felt like they were just kind of shoehorned into some capacity to keep that sort of relevance going. Okay, past this point, I will be delving into spoilers and talking about the final act of the film, as well as talking about the 2 post-credit scenes. So again, if you want to avoid those details, and I highly suggest that you do so, by all means go to my final score section of this review. The final fight between Sonic and Shadow, I was speechless. I mean, easily the best part of the entire film. Sonic realizes that, you know, his power alone is not really enough to stop Shadow. Shadow is just too strong for him. And Shadow teams up with Gerald Robotnik, Eggman's grandfather, to not only destroy the facility responsible for Shadow's, you know, origin, and also the anger and rage as they killed Gerald's granddaughter Maria, and the only human Shadow had any compassion and love for, but also to essentially destroy the universe as a final, you know, fuck you to the entire world. Sonic is angry as Shadow injures Tom during, you know, the heist sequence, and Sonic basically just says, all right, enough. He forces Knuckles to give up the location of the Master Emerald, which is being protected by the deputy Wade, who is playing hockey with it because, you know, he's a moron. Sonic takes the emerald pretty easily and becomes Super Sonic once again to take on Shadow once and for all. Shadow's ready though, as he also takes a bit of that power from the Master Emerald and becomes Super Shadow, and the two just are duking it out. Meanwhile, Eggman, who is in a video game accurate suit no less, which looks pretty awesome, finds out about this little plan from Gerald to destroy the universe, and he's like, well, that's not cool. I want to rule the world, not destroy it. So it ends up becoming grandson versus granddad, while Sonic is still fighting Shadow. Sonic actually gets one over on him and eventually beats him, but he relents as he realizes that he's been just too consumed with revenge and anger, and essentially talks Shadow into letting that vengeance and rage that he feels go, as it doesn't really make things better in the end. And it's best to just carry on with the love and care for the ones they lost instead. Shadow makes peace with Sonic, and they help to stop Gerald's world-destroying plans, which is basically using a huge space cannon to shoot a giant laser that's just gonna incinerate the Earth. Eggman and Shadow essentially sacrifice themselves to save the planet, and Sonic apologizes to his friends once everything is all said and done for letting his vengeance kind of get in the way of his family and friends. And the three proceed to have a friendly race at the end. And then we roll credits. And then we get the first of 2 post-credit scenes as Sonic kind of overshoots the distance a bit in the race and goes much further than he expected to. And out of the shadows comes Metal Sonic to take him on. Sonic beats him pretty handily, only for a whole army of Metal Sonics to come out of the shadows and show themselves. And then Sonic realizes that, yeah, he might be in trouble here. Then we see a huge hammer come down and completely obliterate one of the Metal Sonics, and this cloaked figure with this hammer turns out is none other than Amy Rose. And I gotta say, I was hoping for this, but I honestly didn't expect it in the end. It was still kind of a surprise to me, so that was very cool to see. Then finally we get our final post-credits stinger teasing that Shadow did in fact survive, which, you know, makes sense. I can't imagine them having Shadow only appear in one film and never using him again. I can definitely see there being a Shadow spin-off movie. I mean, there was a Shadow spin-off game, so it just makes perfect sense to do that. In conclusion, I'm giving Sonic the Hedgehog 3 a score of 4 out of 5. A solid end to an overall really solid Sonic trilogy. Shadow is easily the star of the show, and Keanu Reeves brings nothing but the best of Keanu to this performance. The action set pieces are the best they've ever been, and the fan service moments and teases of things to come will leave many a Sonic fan very satisfied. The jokes don't quite land though, and Shadow's backstory falls into the dreaded exposition dump territory. Also, the human characters are, of course, just not as interesting as our favorite Hedgehog and friends, which, let's be honest, we're not really seeing these movies for the humans, are we? But what did you guys think of Sonic the Hedgehog 3? Did you enjoy it? How does it compare to other video game adaptations out there? And also, where would you rank it in the trilogy? Let me know all your thoughts down in the comments below. And don't forget, if you enjoyed the video, to hit the thumbs up button, subscribe to the channel, and tick that bell to always stay up to date on when my next review like this one or trailer reaction drops on the channel. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Happy holidays, everybody. And until next time, remember to keep it classy and, of course, keep it geeky.
This ends now!
Our destiny awaits. You are right about one thing. This ends now.